Welcome everyone to the Holiday Investor Bros special. I am Rob Burns and I am joined by some very special, very handsome gentlemen tonight. We have Michael PokeOZ, Dan from KetchumAllCollectibles, Nick from Opossum Bud, and Colin at the Poké Office. We're going to find out who's been naughty or nice this year. We're going to talk all things Pokemon TCG. First of all, though, I want to introduce you guys to these wonderful people in case you have no idea who they are. So I'm going to go in order of who's on my screen first. So, Michael, do you mind telling everybody who you are and what is going on, my friend?
Yeah, in case you haven't ventured down to an Australian YouTube channel, I'm Michael, and I have a channel called PokeOZ. Oz, of course, being slang for Australian, and we talk all things Pokemon investing, predominantly sealed Pokemon investing, though. So that's me.
Have you been naughty or nice this year, Michael?
Oh, mate, I've been pretty well behaved this year, but pretty well behaved this year.
Dan, does anyone know who you are? I don't think you don't go live very much, so.
Yeah, I'm Dan, KetchumAllCollectibles. I do this full time, so my channel is just documenting my journey, buying, selling, flipping, all that good stuff. And I think I've been a little bit naughty and nice this year, but enough nice to make that list. Hopefully, we'll see.
I like it. I like it. Nick, naughty or nice for you, my friend?
I'm the oddball here in this little group. I'm here because I generally like everybody that's on this podcast. I make videos about whatever the heck I want to. I don't just talk about whatever. Yeah, I've been I don't know. I don't think I've been that good this year. I've made a lot of people not too happy with me, but it wasn't like anything that bad. In my opinion, it could have been a lot worse, but we'll see. We'll see what goes under this tree later. There's room, but if it gets filled,
Colin, my friend.
Colin, I'm representing the west coast of Canada. And I don't know, I talk a lot of nonsense, and I tend to grab the degenerates of live streaming and gambling. So, you know, have I been naughty? You keep inviting me back onto your show, so you tell me.
I feel
bad. Repeat.
Yeah, sometimes I'm just a lonely guy. That's how it goes. So we're going to be talking about a few different topics tonight, guys. I got some doozies. I went in ChatGPT and I said, hey, what are some good topics to ask on a Pokemon investing stream that might have these guys on it? So it gave me some things I can ask. So, Michael, first of all, what's your experience been this year in the hobby? So, like, what's your take on 2024? How have you found it? What surprised you? And what could you see kind of coming off from a mile off?
Any first cab off the rank, eh? Well, I think 2024 has been pretty crazy, hasn't it? Like, it probably started maybe a little bit slow, but it's obviously just ramped up towards the end of the year, hasn't it? Like, the Pokemon collecting, investing, selling, ripping, the whole space, the whole hobby has just gone absolutely bonkers towards the end of the year. I think there's two parts to that question. What surprised me and what did I definitely see coming? I think what surprised me is how quickly people's attention has shifted from Sword and Shield at the start of the year to Scarlet and Violet towards the end of the year. And that rapid shift and change in momentum and money essentially towards Scarlet and Violet, it really surprised me how much some of the probably singles have gone up. To give some examples, like, Charizard from 151 or a lot of cards from 151. Probably the biggest would be Bubble Mew from Paldean Fates. That completely surprised me how much that card's gone. I think it's north of $300 now.
That's crazy.
What else? Greninja come out of I did not expect that from Twilight Masquerade. Greninja, that come out of the gate absolutely cooking, and as has Surging Sparks. In terms of what I definitely saw coming, I mean, the start of the year, I was still telling people, or towards the end of last year, start of this year, from a sealed investing perspective, Sword and Shield booster boxes, like, I just kept saying 100 times, like, grab as many as you possibly can because these things aren't going anywhere in price. And, if there was one thing that was predictable, it was movement of sets like Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, Fusion Strike, Astral Radiance, even Evolving Skies. They kept saying, $400 it's too cheap, $500 it's too cheap, $600 it's too cheap. Like, that's probably been the most predictable part. The Sword and Shield boxes, as they get more scarce and less supply on the market, it was inevitable that they would go up. So that's probably where I see it, right?
100%. I saw Nick and Dan nodding a whole lot there, and Dan was flashing his.
Oh yeah, people were showing their cards, and I was giving them the "Hey, my man" to their cards. That's what I was doing.
What are you flashing?
Bubble
Black
Mew.
Label
Bubble
system.
Mew. Love Bubble Mew. What a card.
It's great.
Amazing.
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I echo a lot of the same sentiment that Michael shared there. One thing I'll add, like the ebbs and the flows, a lot of things, it feels like you can see them coming. Everything's obvious in hindsight is one thing that I always say. But like the ebbs and the flows, because right now you've got Surging Sparks surging, you've got Van Gogh, Pikachu doing crazy things, English hit cards like all the ones mentioned, then Japanese booster boxes. It's like last year, I forget exactly when the exact peaks were, but like last year, a lot of the boxes were very hard to achieve in Japan. And now you've got Shiny Treasure in the 30s. You've got a lot of the Ancient Roar, Future Flash. I'm not amazing with all the Japanese set names, but so many sets are available in the 30s. All the hype on this Terrestrial Festival. And it's not at retail. It's not quite that low, but like relatively speaking to what some of the sets were doing out of the gate, like 151 Japanese, when that came out of the gate, that was, I remember streaming it for 151 a box. And that was like a slight deal at the time, but now we're over a year out from that. And that box has been printed so many times. And so certain boxes are doing pretty big things in Japan, but so many of them are widely available. And I predict that in the coming years, I think we'll see the same cycle come. We'll see some seasonality, and I cannot tell you when. I wish someone could tell me when so that I could stock up properly. But I think we'll see ebbs and flows to where English is, hey, these new sets are $90 a box shipped on eBay, cheaper than distribution. But we're not in that season right now. We kind of were earlier this year talking about Scarlet and Violet again, as Michael had mentioned. But yeah, things are always changing, and it's just an exciting thing to be in as a business and trying to keep up with it all. Not doing perfect at that, but it's always a work in progress.
Nick, is Japanese coming back?
No, not yet.
No.
So that's what's funny. You actually knew your Japanese names, by the way, Dan. You're actually pretty good with that. You got all of them right. So Japanese is, so to add to a lot of that stuff, most of them are correct for a lot of that stuff. I would say to add to that, it's like the hobbies on caffeine right now. Everything's going so fast. Everything's just going way faster. I think everybody knew certain cards were going to go crazy. Everyone knew boxes were going to happen. It's like, supply stops happening. Duh. People are going to pick it up. The sets are cool. They got good chase cards. It's happening so fast. It's literally almost a year faster than previously from like Sword and Shield. And even Sun and Moon, it's faster than that. Like it took like a year and some change, 2 years for any of that to truly catch on. Everything's just fast forward. Everybody's ahead of the game. Everyone's trying to capitalize on Scarlet and Violet while it's hot, therefore making Scarlet and Violet hotter, making everything a little bit more pricey and making Panic and FOMO and all that stuff ensue. Japanese right now is not very hot, which is good because I collect Japanese. And as someone who doesn't sell Pokemon cards right here, I'm having a good old time with Japanese. English is nuts. We knew it was going to happen, but how fast it's going is ridiculous. It's just that many people stepping here, that much demand. Pokemon English not printing necessarily or distributing the cards right they have printed to meet the demands everywhere. Japan's actually doing very, very good with meeting demand. They're just printing it out and making sure people have a fair chance to get it for a few months, maybe up to a year, and then stopping the print flow. And then, of course, value people collecting, new people in the hobby. The regular flow stuff that happens, it's happening a little more regularly paced. English is just crazy. And that's something I did not see coming. Not at all.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. It really has. Colin, what do you think?
When you first asked, like, Nick, you were at Card Party too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if either Michael or Dan was at Card Party, but it was like it really surprised me at the time. It was like this little sub niche of the market where I was of the opinion that Twilight Masquerade wasn't like all that. The Greninja was pretty cool. And over that course of that weekend, all the Twilight Masquerade boxes sold out at the Card Party event. And like they started at, you could buy them for 95. Sometimes you could talk a dealer down to $90 for the box. By the end of it, they're going for like 130. So that was like that little peek into what was actually starting to take place in the actual Pokemon market, I thought. And that really shocked me, but that just seems like it wasn't just like a one-off little event thing of a market. It was like, that's how the Pokemon market actually is. People get excited, people start buying, and we're seeing it literally over the course of a weekend. These boxes of Surging Sparks right now are like up 50%.
That's something nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been surprised by Japanese too, guys, quite honestly. And I mean, even the Terrestrial Festival prices that came out like last few days, I thought they were going to be a lot higher. I honestly did. I thought they were going to, and they're starting to come down quite a bit already. The SARs in particular.
Yep.
It's Master Ball Hollows that seem to be.
That's where they're going to be at. Those Master Balls are going to be ridiculous. The second I saw, though, that it was like about a week out, 5 days out, 4 days out, you could still get boxes for like 54, 53, 55, depending on where you're hunting on Instagram. And even eBay, the land of charge whatever the hell you want. I was like, okay, it's not going to be that crazy bad. They're definitely printing a lot more of this than they're letting on. So, but those Master Balls, I think, are going to be kind of weird. Those are going to be a little wonky weird for a while.
What is it? It's 1 out of 3 booster boxes has a Master Ball.
It's something like that. There's a couple people that are saying like 1 in 4, 1 in 3. It at first people kind of thought it was like 1 in every box because the person that was showing them off, they did get 1 in each of their boxes.
Yeah.
And then there were several opening pages that were also tracking where they were getting like 1-ish, 2-ish here and there. But then people started watching more openings, and I'd say you're probably right. 1 to 3, 1 to 4.
That's crazy. Yeah, someone was telling me you'd have to spend somewhere in the region of 1.6 million yen.
Oh, it's
to
nuts.
pull like one specific, like it's like 10 grand US to pull one card.
Yeah, just easily 10 grand, no biggie.
Hey, I mean, maybe for
it's basically about 1 in 60 packs.
That's what it'd be. You'd be tired of opening packs before anything else like that.
Guys, I'm actually remiss. I didn't cover the sponsors and chat. I don't know how deep we're going to go into chat tonight. I really appreciate everybody joining. I see you guys there. I don't want to get too much in. Everyone's the GOAT on here. I know that, except for me. So I really appreciate you guys joining and tuning in. I want to get through a packed agenda, but I am sponsored by. I'm drinking Bullet Bourbon tonight. I don't know what everyone else is drinking. Dan, what have you got? You usually have some alcohol going.
I'm actually behaving. I've got a Christmas party tomorrow with some of my my Stein friends, so we usually put a few beers back then.
Yeah, nice. Michael, are you on the water again?
I am, mate. Well, it's well, not that it's too early here, but it's 1:43 p.m. But yeah, got a dinner tonight, so we'll save it for that.
Day drinking, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
What, Nick, and you're in? What do you say? Soda? You drinking soda too?
Yeah, just diet soda. Diet soda. You want to have something kind of sweet, but you gotta go to the gym later. So there's that.
I'm gonna have to cut back a little bit. Colin, what are you drinking?
It's just a little juice, and there might be some
good apple juice.
Yeah, there might be some in there.
A little bit of apple juice. I like that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the business side of things. Okay, so Dan, what's your experience been this year from a business standpoint?
I actually just hit 2 months. I started up live streaming for the first time. So I've been full-time for 3 years. I've been part-time side hustling, collecting, whatever for the past 10. But the first couple of years of being full-time, I was primarily eBay, primarily buying raw, grading, selling. And 2 months ago, I finally turned on the live stream aspect. I'm not like the face of it myself. I'm into the Fanatics Live platform. I have a couple friends, a couple business associates streaming for me. I'm actually live right now on Fanatics. PK is live right now, and then Ponga is live a couple nights a week as well. It is mind-blowing. Like I'm just one in the grand scheme of things. I am like nothing. I'm tiny. I'm nothing compared to your Going Twice's, and then like your brick and mortar businesses like Dave and Adam's Card World, Troll and Toad. I'm one little guy, one little business, and I'm running my numbers for what we're gonna do in 2025. And I need like 50 to 100,000 packs. There's a solid chance with 2 streamers going live one night a week. Well, each night for a few hours each night, we're likely going to go through up to 100,000 packs. And that's if I don't add on a third streamer. So yeah, one thing that I'm quickly learning, and I knew that was the case. I knew it was a thing. I mean, a lot of liquidity is out in the market. You go to a convention, there's streamers going around sourcing inventory for their whatnot, for their Fanatics, for their eBay Live. Now that I'm on the actual side, like it's one thing to hear it and kind of be aware of it. It's another thing to be in that system. And it's just crazy. I'm going to UPS every day, shipping 50-pound boxes to my streamers to keep them fed. The demand is just insatiable right now. Pokemon printing unprecedented numbers, 12 billion cards last year. PSA grading unprecedented amount of cards. And in a lot of ways, like by a lot of measures, it's not enough, right? Because a $200 English main set box a month after release, it's wild.
What do you guys think the draw is here? Like, I mean, I've bought some stuff from Rip and Ships, but not extensively. Like, why are people getting through so many packs? Like, what's going on?
I'm kind of a gambler at my core, at heart. I had a lot of my journey from 2014 to 2019, early 2020. I was mostly collector. These days I'm in my business season. I've turned into that chapter. But like my first goal when I re-entered the hobby was to open every English box that I missed. And I did it. The only English box that I didn't open was base set first edition. I opened a Shadowless box. I opened EX Team Rocket Returns. I opened Aquapolis. I opened Sky. I opened everything. And I've bought in the big box breaks before. I went to Vegas and opened a base set first edition pack, a Shadowless pack, and a base set unlimited pack as part of like a charity event. I bought into a beta box break a couple years ago. I'm trying to be like past that season now, past the super gambly side. But I do get a rush. I do get an enjoyment. I like me some blackjack from time to time. And this stuff definitely scratches that itch. I know that's me. I don't know how many people it's that part, but that's what it is for me. I know I'm not alone. I don't know what % of it is gamblers, but I know there's definitely some gamblers out there when you can pull a $1,000 PSA 10 or whatever, or $2,000 PSA 10.
Well, Colin, you're big into gambling, right?
No. No. No, but seriously, last night I came up like a few weeks ago with a thing that I call the gauntlet, and you get your first pack for free. You pay for 10 packs. Your first pack's free. And then each time we spin the wheel to see if you continue to get your next pack. And each time we add more, like the odds get worse. And yesterday, I had put, if you make it to pack 16, you get my Lugia V Alt Art Gem Mint 10. That's the prize if you make it to pack 16. And the first person made it to pack 14, and I was like sweating buckets because it's like, no, this is never supposed to happen. The house is not supposed to lose. And I mean, I didn't lose, I guess, but that set off like a frenzy of people wanting to do that. And on my site, I'm like very clear, this is a huge gamble, because not only are we opening up crap Silver Tempest packs that you're probably not going to get a good pull from, but you're also more likely to get 5 packs than you are to get 10. Like, but it's that chance, and people eat it up. Like my sales, just like Dan was saying, I only stream once a week and I take a week off here and there. And I've been doing like $3,000, $4,000 a week on my live streams, which is just, I went to work today, got home at 3:00, and now it's 6:50 here, and I have not stopped. I have been packing ever since I got home from my day job to get stuff shipped out. It's crazy. And I don't have a big audience like some other streamers. There was 40 people watching last night, but I was on for 6 hours opening packs.
I would have such backache doing that, man. So, Michael, have you thought of doing this? Are you into the rip and ship stuff? I know you used to do a bunch of it, like for selling on eBay back in the day, but like, what about in front of a live audience?
I used to and learnt the hard way. Too many EX Crystal Guardians, too many EX Dragon Frontiers, too many cases ripped open back in the day when they were super cheap. They were, 2-3 years after release, still super cheap. But I'm like you, Colin. I still have a day job. I know you're a teacher from memory. I work in car sales selling Toyotas, and it takes up about 50 hours a week, generally speaking. So YouTube's just a little bit of fun on the side in terms of expressing my views and ideas over the course of the journey. But on that point, from like what you were saying, Dan and Colin, like just the amount of packs getting ripped, and it's funny, men. I feel like, I don't know, women are probably into it as well. Chicks are probably into it too, but men in particular, just there's this real, and particularly in Australia, there's a massive gambling culture. Like if anyone gambles, it's Australians. I think we account for like 60% of the world's pokie machines in Australia. I don't know if that's the exact fact, but it's something along those lines. The revenue that the Australian government and authorities make off like pokie machines is just phenomenal. If there's something Aussies love, they'll bet on anything. Sports, pokies, 2-up, if you've heard of that, flipping a couple of coins. We bet on anything and everything. And I think that's part of the culture, is that people love the gamble on top of the gamble. And it's a weird one, isn't it? It's like, why does it make sense? Because you could just go down to the shop and buy them yourselves and open them. But I think it's that like community aspect where, you know, you and your mates can buy into a break and watch it together. And, you know, Colin was just talking about some extra, you know, fun little extra gambles he's added on top of the already gamble of opening packs. So it's just like gambling on top of gambling, and it just seems to hook people in like crazy. And hey, from my point of view, keeping sealed product sealed, it's good news for me. You know, the more packs that get ripped open, the better. Like that is one thing I think as well. Like going back to the original question you asked me about what surprised you this year is just the growth of the rip and ship. Whether it's I don't know many of the channels. Like obviously you can do YouTube live, and I think there's Whatnot, and a few of the guys at work do that with NBA cards. But personally, I'm not huge into it. But that's one thing that surprised me, just how much this is growing. And like that's crazy, Dan, to think you know you could get through 100,000 packs of Pokemon cards like in a 12-month period. That's just bonkers.
Can I jump in here real quick? I wanted to say one more thing. Here's what I think is happening, because I personally don't like buying into pack rips myself. I'd rather open the cards myself. So I'm like not really the target market, which is weird because I do it. But yesterday, new guy, had never bought from anyone, he said before. It was his first time ever buying into a pack break. 10 packs of 151, and we pulled the Charizard special illustration rare. The very next pack, the Venusaur special illustration rare. So there's 40 people in the chat going bonkers, calling out this guy's name. I'm calling out his name. It's like you're buying in for the recognition, and that you're not only the gamble, but you get recognized, like you feel part of a community, which I think people are really lacking ever since COVID, maybe even before that. And I think that means something. Like I think people are willing to pay money to have that. Oh, Colin just said my name on a live stream, and like I'm a nobody. That my name means nothing. But the fact that a YouTuber is saying my name, I think people really, really want to feel known.
Well, speaking of feeling known, Nick, you are starting a Whatnot. That's your January thing, right?
Yeah, that's my New Year resolution, baby. Off the treadmill, straight to Whatnot, baby. You know me.
Love it.
What's your take on this? I see you obviously waiting patiently.
As someone who just collects and doesn't sell or anything like that, like I don't really have any interest in hopping on the old rip and ships personally. I've avoided it most of my YouTubing and like collecting type frame. I don't really have anything too much against it anymore. When it was fresh and it was starting with like Whatnot, it's crazy because like Drip, Whatnot, all those places, it's as great of a space as the creators make it. It's just an open space where creators can literally build whatever they want. So if there's bad creators, they can make a horrible place for take advantage of people, do some weird stuff. And if there's good creators and good rippers, then it's going to reflect as such. And for me personally, like talking about businesses, just as someone who buys a lot of singles and buys stuff like that too, doesn't really sell. I will say dealing with businesses this year has been a lot better. I will say 2023, 2022, especially since I buy from like people that sell Japanese. That was, I'm not going to lie, sometimes kind of not great dealing with people just because it was, everyone kind of felt like they knew what they had or what they knew what they thought they had, where it was going to be, where things were going to go. And it, I don't know, just didn't work out so well sometimes buying certain things. But I would say this year, buying from businesses, even like English cards and stuff like that, like even like the hot top deal ones or something like that, it really hasn't been so bad. Going to card party, I met a lot of vendors. I met a lot of people that sell cards. None of them nice to me, nothing but cool. And I was nothing but nice to them, talked. And even though we had differences of opinions for certain things, like when it came to like businesses and selling stuff like that, I mean, at the end of the day, we both like Pokemon cards. We both can just sit there and crack a beer and be like, "Yeah, what about that Greninja? Yeah, that Greninja's cool. Yeah, cool." Or talk about like, you know, oh, remember the old days of Hidden Fates, or hey, you remember Dark Explorers? Hey, you remember back in the day? You remember old Neo Discovery or something like that? You know, the Pokemon 2000 movie. I don't know. It's one of those things where the community really keeps ripping ships alive, in my opinion. Whether it's good or bad, whether the community attracts, you know, a certain kind of person or another. It's the community aspect along with like the extra itch of gambling, in my opinion. But you, even with gambling stuff like that, you can't really keep that stuff long term if you don't got people entertaining people at the same time, making it a good time for people.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. 100%. I'm going to put a comment up here. One sec. If I know how to use it. No, Rock Sandy. And who's this guy? Poké Invest ? There you go.
Say my name.
Inept is in
Hey,
here.
what's going on, Nep Coats?
There's so many great guys in there. I just see Son of a Merc pop up, and if I'm not calling out your name, I apologize. We're not paying too close attention to the chat. So I did have a question specifically targeted for you here, Nick, as well. I'm trying to kind of rotate things around to specific interests and kind of some of what your content is on the channel.
Having such a good time listening to what everybody says. They have such good opinions.
Nice. I like it. So look, I mean, there's a lot of thievery, a lot of theft being covered these days in the hobby, a lot of shenanigans, I think, as you've called it in the past, privately to me. Like, so my question really is, like, these thieves at shows, these card thieves, could more be done to stop this behavior at the show level, or is it just, hey, it's just one of those things that's going to happen?
It's growing pains, in my opinion. So a lot of the stuff, there's so many new people stepping in, like everyone's already said. It's just beating a dead horse. There's so many new people. There's so many new like organizations, and just the sheer size and scope of the amount of packs and things people are selling. I think people just daily underestimate how many people step into this hobby. And when people set up like a vendor or booth or something like that, oh, maybe I'll see like 20, 30 people. And then like 10 minutes later, they've already seen 50 people. They've already seen 60 people just come and go from their table, like 60, 70 sets of hands, touching their binders, touching their stuff. And I just think it's just one of those things as time goes on, as the hobby gets more adjusted to this kind of stuff and people get more experience in it. I think people will naturally come do stuff. The evolution of that obviously being cameras, the POVs. And while they were doing that stuff, they went ahead and set up cameras and then made videos for everybody too, showing the things they were selling. Like, hey, I'm moving this card here. Hey, I'm doing this stuff over here, with the added benefit of being like, hey, fool, there's a camera right there. You sliding that pack in your sleeve. You might want to rethink that. So it kind of worked itself out. There's going to be different ways people work with stuff too. I see more vendors actually having more people behind the counters, even if they're not necessarily doing anything, just watching people and striking conversations and just kind of being present. I think stuff like that's going to help. Vendors specifically, I think upping their surveillance, upping the amount of like people they have there for that kind of stuff, and finally seeing people getting arrested for stealing cards. That's what it's all about, baby. That's what you like to see.
Yeah, me too. Dan, you vend a lot, right? So correct? Am I right in saying that? Or you go to a few
I've vended
shows
several times. Moving ahead, I probably won't be doing it as much because I need to keep stuff for the live streams. But I have several times.
Have you been stolen from at shows that you know of?
Not that I know of. I am not the most organized person in the world. It would not overly surprise me if one, it would never have been like a major slab or a major box, but like to say one cheap slab didn't end up getting 5-finger discounted, I can't say confidently that it hasn't, but it was never anything big, surely.
Okay, well that's good. That's good at least. I did want to ask. So we'll start with Michael here. So we're in a bull market right now. That's what I keep hearing, right? So in the financial world, like bull markets typically last around 5 years. So if we were to factor in COVID, let's say as the beginning of this bull market, and there's ebbs and flows in bull markets too, right? So are we coming to the end of a bull market here, or are things just starting to really ramp up?
Ooh, that's $1 million question, hey? Well, one of the funny ones, you look at the Google trend, don't you? Like, people just Googling Pokemon cards. Like, that has obviously spiked, it spiked during, Pokemon Go time when XY Evolutions come out, and then it sort of, dropped off a little bit, and then it re-spiked again during COVID times. And just recently, like the last 3 months, it is absolutely spiked once more to, levels above, as a Google trend, levels above what it was during, I suppose, COVID times. And I think one thing it does show, though, like, it's funny, you mentioned the word bull market, but, just from my experience in another industry, which is the car selling market, and everywhere is probably a little bit different, but in Australia, we're 20% down on private new car sales this year compared to last year. And that's the biggest drop in private car sales that, I've been in the industry nearly 10 years that I've ever seen. Like, it's a lull. Like, the car industry is down. Like, we're hurting, not to the point where we need to sell up or close up shop, but it's not easy at the moment. And I think a lot of people will find that across a lot of industries, whether it's just going to the shop and buying your groceries or making your mortgage repayments. Like, people's back pockets are hurting at the moment. And I think what's really interesting is just how resilient the Pokemon card market is, whether it's, Japanese like Unique, like that's just the amount of reprints and stock and supply and increase in Japanese cards. English has just gone to unprecedented levels. Like, it just shows how resilient the IP is. It's insane how crazy it's got. In terms of answering your actual question, are we at the start or at the end? I think I did a video on this recently with the rip and ship culture, like what you do, Dan, and you do a little bit, Colin. I think we're only getting started in that space. It's that double-edged sword. It's that gamble and that sense of community, like you mentioned, Nick, that really draws people into that rip and ship sort of culture. And I think that's only getting started. And that's just drawing so much demand for packs, let alone just, the natural collectors, which are essentially, for the most part, it's made for kids. It's that time of year where parents are buying packs to put in stockings and collection boxes to put in, wrap up under the Christmas tree. Like I don't know. I feel it's only getting started. I feel like, I feel like the bull market's only getting started, Rob.
Yeah, I got to agree with you, man. I got to agree. And I do want to get in. I actually had this question originally for Dan, so I do want to give Dan some kind of space to talk about this. I mean, Dan, the risk of getting like your buckets sorted out and all that stuff, like, should people be gambling on Pokemon cards and investing in Pokemon cards in this economy? Like, what's the story?
Yeah, that's anyone familiar with my channel is very familiar with the fact that like I'm a gambler and I have a lot of money in Pokemon, but I do have handy within my OBS. I always have my buckets on what I do with my finances, where my money goes first before it goes into cardboard. And I know you can't read that with my camera being so small right now, but like I fund my 401ks and IRAs, and I hope that a lot of people have things sorted out on their end financially. I hope when people hop in, and I see the numbers on the back end. I see the way Fanatics Live does it. They have like our top 10 overall lifetime buyers. And I see the numbers that some people are throwing down in individual streams. Some people I do know, and I know their finances are sorted. Some people I know in my personal life, they're not my live streaming consumers, but like I used to work with them. Some of my former coworkers, some of my friends, some of my family. I know things are tight, but I know that I go out for wings with one of my buddies on a Friday night and I see him sitting at the bar, running up a tab, buying people around. And it's like adults will do what they want to do with their money. And it's not my job to police. That is where I kind of leave it. But if you are watching one of my channels, you will know who Disclaimer Dan is. You will know all the caveats, all the risk. Risk is one thing, opportunity cost. Like these are terms and things that I'm constantly talking about. It's just most people don't want to hear it. If I make a 9-minute YouTube video and I just say I bought this card and I made $20,000 grading a bunch and selling it, green lines, rocket emojis, all that stuff, I will get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views in a couple days, which is like massive for my channel. If I make a video saying, hey guys, make sure this holiday season you aren't carrying balances on your credit cards and make sure that you are planning your finances out so that you can pay your rent, so that you can pay your electric bill, like heating season's coming soon. People, yeah, I'll get like not many views relative to that. So I do it as much as I feel I should / can. And a year or two ago, I used to do it a lot more. And there's definitely a lot of people, like I had some people that I'm close to in the Pokemon space, some people that I've just talked to outside of, and they're like, you can only say the same thing so many times. And most of the people that should hear your message, they're not going to hear it anyways. While I'm live on YouTube, PK or Ponga's live on Fanatics, and the person that I'm trying to talk to is paying me $500, $1,000 that night on their credit card, whatever, over on Fanatics Live while I'm live on YouTube telling people to be cautious. It is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like people don't want the voice of reason all the time. They want to be, I mean, actually, Nick, I think to paraphrase something you said in a recent video, I think you're actually making fun of the Investor Bros, which is fine. But you were saying like people are going on for their confirmation bias. They're like, yeah, I want to know, we're all going to agree we've made a good decision here. Like we all invested in this thing and it's great. And I think that is very true to a point. People don't want to be told it's not going to work out. And I think the reason I was asking a bit about gambling and getting into that a little bit is I think there is a fine line as well between, as much as I love it, investing in this hobby and gambling as well. Like I think people want to be in the next big thing. So I don't know what your guys' take is on that. I mean, Nick, actually, maybe that's a good question for you.
Oh yeah, and it's something that's just truthful. I mean, as much as there's flaws and things with anything, the investment side of it has its flaws and has things where it obviously preys on certain things and it expects people to act a certain way for some people to come out on top. It's no different from anything else in this hobby or how anybody else talks. It's weird though how the bias for that kind of stuff and like the just wanting to be on certain things and be a part of the group, it will make people do some very strange things. It'll make people buy things that maybe they previously weren't going to. And you can definitely watch that with like trends. And I don't say it all the time just because I like gatekeeping or anything like that. But when I say people did not care about full art Japanese supporters, I absolutely mean it. Nobody cared about any of that stuff because people look at some of the ones I got. They're like, whoa, you got that card? That's like a $1,200 raw card. It's like, yeah, you want to know how much I bought it for? $30, because nobody cared. It's weird. It's weird to me that it's worth that much because in 2018, nobody cared. Not one soul was out there going like, man, I really hope Hex Maniac is on the shelf later in the Japanese Best of XY set. Nobody cared. It was just, it's so weird. But like wanting to be a part of something and want to be a part of that. And there's nothing wrong if you want to drop that money on the card, okay? Yep. Just like everyone else here was saying, you're an adult. You make your money. You go to your job. You clock in. You clock out. You go home. You do whatever you want, okay? That's on you. And between you and God is your credit card statement and whatever agencies are going to come after you if you're not doing your stuff, okay? That's on you. But it is weird how it's not necessarily like a critique at any one in particular person. It's a flaw that like everyone in this hobby does exhibit if they do any kind of card buying, card selling, or anything like that. I purchased some cards I probably shouldn't have. I did some things. It's not like I'm perfect in that play either, but at the same time, watching what people will do to be a part of a group is funny. And it's very easy to look at and be like,
You got a fan here, Nick. I love your channel, you goofball. That girl. Things don't work out with Virginia. I guess you're in there.
That's terrible. You're terrible. That's coming from me. You're terrible.
I was going to say.
I'm joking.
So actually, yeah, I know. The investing trend and investor bro culture. So actually, I did want to get to this a bit later, but so maybe Michael's a good one to ask this. Do you think that ultimately, I mean, there's a bunch of us now. I'm relatively late to the party, but you know, you've been doing it, I think, about a year and a half longer than me, Michael. Like, do you think ultimately it is a good thing or a bad thing for the hobby in general?
Like even though obviously I'm on board with it, I can see both sides of it. You know, I don't have my heart and soul in this. You know, it's it's more to life than just Pokemon cards. You know, it's a hobby. It's a hobby and it's a fun hobby, and there's other investments. And I always say all along, like it should be, from my perspective, like 5 or 10% of your net worth, and it's just a fun hobby. It's the fun investment that you can part. I think that confirmation, just to go back on that other point, that confirmation bias that people search for on YouTube is such a strong point. Completely agree with you, Rob and Nick. Like, people will just search to find a video that just confirms what they want to say, and whether that's something I'm saying or, you know, something Nostalgianomics is saying, like people will search for it. People will just search for it. Hey, what was your original question again, Rob? It was.
Yeah, sorry.
Investor Bros.
No, it was
Investor Bros. Here's the big positive. Here's the real big positive. So, you know, we look at you know, the amount of Wizards of the Coast boxes that still hang around. You see all those, you know, little cheeky comments where people will go, "Oh, you know, they're still printing Wizards of the Coast product." But
that's so funny.
Yeah,
isn't it ever? But like, they're patches of history that have been locked away, and it happened a lot, you know, when closed down, when, you know, you always hear it, see it all the time on Reddit and whatnot, you know, where people have found it in their grandmother's basement or attic, and it's just like the one good thing about locking away, I suppose, sealed product from my point of view is it keeps a part of history like still alive to enjoy in the future for someone else. And, you know, that price will come with a premium, but it sort of makes sense that it comes with a premium. It's like buying a restored classic car. Like, you're paying for, we're about to sell one at work. Like, it's an old Toyota Land Cruiser. It's a restored 40 series. And the amount of people that come in and go, you know, I grew up on the farm, like on Dad's lap, driving this car. And it's now, I think, you know, we're probably going to sell it for about 70 or 80,000 Australian dollars. And back in the late 70s and early 80s, it was, you know, probably 5,000 Australian dollars brand new. So someone's going to have to pay for that experience to relive, you know, part of the past. And I think I think that's where the price comes from predominantly. Is not only does the sealed collectible itself have value, but if you want to relive part of your life or take a little time capsule back in time, you've got to, I suppose, pay up for that ability, and that's where I think one of the big positives comes from keeping sealed product stored. And look, I think it's an overreaction about how much of it's actually sealed. Way more of it gets open than whatever gets sealed. It's a shame though when it does get taken out of the hands of, and this is probably one of the biggest negatives, it's a shame when it gets taken out of the hands of the people it was predominantly designed for, which is kids to open and have fun with. And that's when it sucks, is when people just can't get it. You look at English prismatic evolutions, and getting a Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box, like, look at the price of them already. Like, you just can't imagine wanting to buy that for your son or something or for your daughter to open up, and that's the bad side. So it's like anything though, there's pros and cons, and I'm not going to sit here and defend Pokemon investing bros. It's not what I'm here to do. I can certainly see both sides of the story. So what's everyone else's take on it?
What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I don't know. I used to really fight the I word. I used to fight the investing word, and part of disclaimer Dan being tucked away, forced off camera, at least how much I used to try. I used to call it speculation. It's kind of semantics, but yeah, I won't get into the whole thing. But as far as investing in Pokemon, it's not anything that's needed by anyone. It's not water. We're not hoarding masks and hand sanitizer during a global pandemic or anything like that. And there is potential downside risk. There's downside risk, and people don't want to hear the chances that we could go into a period like we were from 2003 to 2009. I don't know exactly when it ended because I wasn't there.
Wait, hold on.
Pokemon,
everything goes up all the time, always, Dan. It just keeps going up. What are you talking about, bro? Like, just buy it, it goes up.
I mean, sports cards in the 90s, Pokemon in the late 90s, early 2000s, like base set unlimited booster boxes were $40 and not selling. You can go with the Wayback Machine. It's a fun ride. Look at Hills Wholesale Gaming. The website has not changed in 20 years. But you can see that base set, jungle set, fossil, those boxes were $40 a piece in 2003, 2004. So there is risk. A lot of things have changed. The print runs are higher than ever, though, too. But yeah, I constantly talk about the battle between unprecedented print runs and then also unprecedented live streaming, all these rip and ship platforms, the 100,000 packs that my business itself will account for opening. So all those factors combined, I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing. When the think of the children argument comes up, when, hey, you're buying your whole allocation and you're not immediately selling it at MSRP or whatever arbitrary number people think they're entitled to the product at, I just say, and if you think about it logically as well, anyone who's transporting product into the future is actually lowering the price of that thing in the future. Like one thing that I'm doing on my video right now, and one of my videos right now for my channel, I'm doing like a pallet time capsule. I palletized a bunch of product earlier this year, and my dad has actually bought into half of it. So when your parents start investing in Pokemon, you got to watch out because that might be a top signal. But that was 6 months ago, and we've only gone up since. But 6 years from now, in 2030, when we like open up that pallet, I'll probably disperse it all to whatever people I have live streaming for me on the various platforms, if that's still a thing. That product that's on that pallet will be cheaper because I invested in it 6 years from now, right? So if anything, I'm making it more accessible to future people. I'm making it less accessible today because whatever I'm taking it off the market. But I'm also transporting that into the future on the belief that Pokemon will still be relevant, still be around, and I'll be doing a service to people 6 years from now, right? Maybe that's just my perverted way of thinking about it. Maybe that's evil capitalist Dan trying to justify his evil scalping, whatever kind of actions you want to call it. But I think I'm confident there's logic there. I don't just think there's logic there. I'm confident.
I mean, the logic a lot of people I see using is going back and saying, well, the S&P 500 is only increased by X amount. Like, you can look at an Evolving Skies booster box, and that's way better, which seems to be a bit of a flawed logic in some ways because, I mean, hopefully everyone's not just investing in the S&P 500. I mean, did you do your Bitcoin hit 100K party, Dan? Did you get to do that one?
We had it up on screen on one of my lives, and it didn't hit 100K
Did you
that
actually?
night. But we did talk about it earlier this week when I was live. Yeah.
It was 2 days ago, right? I think 2 days ago it hit. Like, I mean,
Yep,
that's
3 days ago. Yep.
You know how easy it is to sell Bitcoin? You don't even have to list it on eBay. Just get rid of it in your Coinbase. Anyway, yeah. So moving on, Colin, I realize I have kind of neglected you a little bit. The chat is getting on me a little bit here.
No.
So Colin,
They want to know you're still alive, Colin.
you haven't.
I checked my pulse earlier. It's still going.
I saw the comments. I was like, oh man, I feel bad. So Colin, you haven't started your business this year, but I feel like you've really ramped it up, especially on the rip and ship side, right? So what's been your experience of growing in this, I guess, this market or this year, like how things have been?
I mean, it was probably 4 months ago that I sold 2 of my Evolving Skies booster boxes that I had left, and I sold them for 825 Canadian, which is like, I don't know, conversion 650, 625 American, something like that. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
And everyone was like, you're an idiot. It's only going up, which it clearly has. And yet, like, I've crushed my spirits in the meantime by going to work and then coming home to go to work and then sleeping and then going to work again. But I've made way more money than my 2 Evolving Skies boxes did because I put that money into the business. So there's something to be said there. I don't remember your question, but I'll just,
What's your experience been growing the business this year? Like, I mean,
I've been grinding hard. I'm exhausted. One bad sleep this week and it's like game over. But it's been a lot of fun too, because like for most people who watch my channel, I got in with 2 Canadian distributors in the last 2 months. So I have an account open with 2 of them. So that's cool. Trying to spend lots of money so that I get like 1 box of Prismatic Evolution, hopefully. And building relationships with other people, and people are buying into the live stream, and I don't know, it's crazy. Back to the investing thing for a second. Where it really ruins it for me is, I shouldn't be telling anyone this, but the Costco where I live doesn't sell Pokemon. They have Pokemon, but I could go buy 151 for weeks and months. It never sold out. Whereas in Ontario and all over the place, it's like mad dashes for the 151.
I can't get it.
I can just walk in after work a week after it hits the shelf and go buy as much as I want. So I don't feel bad about buying lots of Costco product. It's there. Costco's a wholesaler. I do go buy the whole pallet sometimes, but I don't do that because, pardon me?
With a pallet jack?
No, like I just load it into the buggies actually. But I've dropped $10,000 at Costco before, quite a few times this year. But it doesn't sell. So I don't feel bad. It's like, I'm not taking it from the kids. They've had every opportunity to go buy it. I'm going to take advantage of that opportunity now that I've left it there.
Wow.
No one tell anyone where I live, because I want to keep this a secret.
But what a hustle and hitting up Costco.
Where you see those like TikTok videos where they're fighting over it. Heck no. If someone sees me grabbing Pokemon into a cart at Costco and they say, I want that, take as much as you want to. I'm not doing this to be evil. I'm doing it to take advantage of an opportunity that presents itself.
You're using the Costco MasterCard?
I certainly am, my man. 4% on $10,000 purchases is a nice chunk of change.
Well, I saw Nick was scalping a bunch of stuff the other day too. You had Crown Zenith and Sky in the back of your trunk, man.
Dude, that's the first time I saw Sea and Sky like forever. So it was similar to like what Colin's saying. They had a whole pallet of that stuff, and I just kind of was walking by to grab some stuff. I stopped for a second and was like, that has not been here in months since I've been here. And I remember that stuff that came out previously. That's like the first time I saw it. So I grabbed 2 boxes of that and left the rest of it. But yeah,
it's kind of strange. Like, I mean, I can't find 151 here. Crown Zenith's everywhere. Like, I can walk into my EB Games, GameStop, whatever. I can go to Costco. There's pallets full of it. But 151 I can't find. So
Crown Zenith is kind of popping up around here too, over here in the central United States. It's kind of weird, of all places, for it to just be popping up all over the place. What a weird set too.
Yeah, I think Millennium were out of black ink for a while, right? Like the box is mostly black, so now they got the black ink back, so now they're printing it again. See,
hey, go for it. It's a cool product.
So I like that set. I like that set a lot. Okay, so let's get into some more investing stuff because that's fun. So, Michael, someone wants to get started right now. Let's say they decided, hey, I've got X amount, my buckets are filled up, Dan's buckets are all good. They want to start investing. Maybe their buckets aren't full. Where should they start? Where's a good place for somebody new to the hobby to actually start investing in Pokemon cards?
I just wanted to say, Rob, you've definitely got a voice for this, mate. You've you you got the radio host voice. Very
Thanks.
soothing,
Thanks.
very professional.
I've been classically trained. I went to
off.
radio broadcast school.
I work off an extremely simple philosophy. If someone has just got started, and it's three things essentially: buy the right set, buy the right product, and see if you can get it at the right price. So, if you think back to obviously 2021, the right set would be Evolving Skies, the right product would be a booster box, and the right price would essentially be as cheap as you can possibly get it. So, I'll talk about this a bit. It's funny, if anyone occasionally wanders onto that Reddit Poke investing forum, the amount of people that are like, how am I going? Like, I've just started. Yeah, I know Nick has because he does a few videos on that.
That's such bait. It's so bait.
Oh man, it's sometimes a little bit of a difficult read, but people will pop on there, how am I going? Like, check out my collection. Like, I just got started 2 months ago, and it's literally like they've just walked down to, I don't know, Costco, I presume in America, I don't know, Walmart, and just literally grabbed like a Palafin EX collection box ×5, a couple of tins here, and they've probably spent, $400 and it's just like that's not the way to get started. Keep the philosophy extremely simple. Right set, right product, right price. At the moment, the play 2 months ago, of course, was pre-ordering Surging Sparks. That was the right set. The set list was out. If you couldn't see that it was the best, or maybe 151, but one of the best Scarlet and Violet sets that we've had so far, if you couldn't see that based on the set list, you sort of had your head buried in the sand a little bit, in my opinion. But so right set, the right product, of course, being the booster box, or the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box, the beautiful Shinji Kanda Magneton with the Pokemon Center stamp on there. They're another good product. So when we're talking right product for people that are just getting into it, right set, right product is either a booster box or Scarlet and Violet Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Boxes. In case you're not aware, which most people probably watching this are, Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Boxes started with Chilling Reign, but they never had stamped promos during Sword and Shield era. So moving into Scarlet and Violet, they do. And those promos can go for huge dollars. I mean, Obsidian Flames isn't really a great set per se. I did pull the Charizard though, but that Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box is going for really good money because that Charmander promo, I think in conjunction with Stellar Crown coming out with the trio there, but the Pokemon Center Stand Charmander promo is worth big dollars. So right set, right product, and right price. And it's hard at the moment to get things at the right price because you sometimes go to order some cases of some new sets come out and maybe they get cancelled because people can't fill their allocations, or maybe you left it too late and then it is too late and you have to pay double or triple the price. But that's my take on it. That's some advice to someone that's just getting started. Don't look at Poke investing on Reddit and all these people buying collection boxes. Just get the right set, the right product, and buy it at the right price. It's as simple as that. And for the most part, I just keep it simple. It's hard to. Here he is.
You've inspired me to make a thumbnail. It's don't do this. This is it.
Is that the heavy hitters?
That's a cool product, though. That ain't bad.
Yeah, I got it at Costco. Yeah, I only bought one, Colin. But
that's a heavy. Yeah, that's all right. That's not too bad.
It's a nice
Ironically, that thing sold out faster than any 151, any Crown Zenith product at the Costco's here. It's like the families want to buy that product for their kids because it's got the cool Lucario and the cool Tyranitar.
It's a great product.
Different packs.
Yeah, but certainly not saying there's no good collection box. There are a couple of good ones. Some perform really well. I think Blooming Waters, for example, the 151 one, that'll perform well.
The Bloomin' Onion. I love that. I can't look at that box, Nick, without calling it Bloomin' Onion.
I don't know why. I think I was like half asleep when I read it, and I was like squinting or something. I was like, Bloomin' Onion.
I love that. Hell? I love that. Well, look, PokeSun's in the chat. I love PokeSun. She's awesome. Yes. What's everyone's favorite Scarlet and Violet modern set to
Ooh.
open? Why don't we start with you, Nick?
Ooh.
Paradox Rift.
Oh, Paradox.
I'm a big fan of the Paradox Pokemon. I know that's not a huge
Spicy
it's not
take.
about, dude. I like it. I get it. It fits well with the game. Fits well with the story. They tie it all well in. I like the alternate takes on Pokemon. It's kind of like Mega Evolutions, but not really. They don't go back with the stone. I still think Mega Evolutions are a little bit more goated, but I think Paradox, for what it set out to do, the lore behind it, the Pokedex, all that stuff, I personally think a lot of them look cool, but mostly on the ancient side. I think the future side, not so much, minus Iron Bundle and Iron Valiant. Those ones are cool.
Yeah.
And the
Well, you heard it
Steelix
here
is an
first.
absolute banger. The Steelix.
Yeah. The
Steelix.
Dude,
Steelix
the Steelix,
it's
yeah,
hard.
that card's so good.
That is a nice one. Yeah. Invest now, guys. You heard it here first.
No, I mean, if you want to, sure. But that's how we're saying. I just like the
Steelix
set.
to the moon.
I just love the set.
$50 card after this stream.
Steelix is going.
Yeah,
it's gonna go.
There's gonna be
boom.
like 5 people in the comments blaming
Steelix
me
is
for that.
going
They're gonna
up.
be like, this guy over here just Steelix love. Bipper-dipper-doo.
But he bought all the copies earlier today. He's like, I know I'm going to the
Oh my
stream. I better
God.
pump my Steelix cards.
Yeah,
In Japanese
I picked up
ones.
100 this morning.
Oh my God.
We're all in the know. Dan, do you open a lot of product yourself, or any product for yourself that you're not flipping over, or do you enjoy opening packs that you're going to go and grade? Like, what's your take?
Every time a new set comes out, I open some with my kids. We make it a family affair. I'll go grab a couple ETBs or a booster box or whatever. We'll all get our pile and we'll split it. My kids are 4 and 6. They have a bunch of binders. They love filling them. I love just to see the way they decide to fill them, what cards make the binder, which cards don't. My daughter's the younger one. She'll pick a lot of the more cutesy ones, commons and uncommons going in that binder, some hollows getting cast aside, some of the ultra rares, the Vs and VMAXs, whatever, getting cast aside. And my son's like, no, that's a good one. You've got to put that one in your binder. But she's doing her own thing. So I don't open like a crazy amount, but I do open, probably 40 to 50 packs of every set with the family. And I guess the answer for me, very basic answer, 151. I'm a Kanto guy. If they ever make a 251, that might be my one to replace 151, because Crystal was my favorite game. Most nostalgic thing of all things Pokemon was playing Pokemon Crystal growing up. But I did love Yellow as well. And Yellow, I actually completed the Pokédex. So being able to get that whole Yellow Pokédex in one set, that's 151's an easy answer for me.
Yeah, I like that. I did the original 151. I did in red. Blue version was my trade version. I had 2 Game Boys. I connected them with the cable, and I did the whole trade myself. Right. So, and I used to love. I would start a new game, and I'd trade over the Bulbasaur and the Squirtle. So I had all 3 starters. And before Yellow came out, right, I used to do that. That was great. But I really enjoyed 151 as well. But my favorite set so far to open is actually Obsidian Flames. I don't know why that set was just hit after hit. I really enjoyed it. I think I was itching to open 151. It came out just before, and Obsidian I don't know, I really liked it. I thought it was a good old set to open there. Colin, you open a lot of sets. What was your favorite?
I have a couple people who really like going fishing for the Magikarp, so I've been really digging Paldea Evolved lately. I'd say 151 too, because I wasn't really into Pokemon. I thought I was too cool for it, like basically once I got into high school. So what a terrible take I had. I have terrible takes all the time, but that's not shocking. Anyways, 151 for sure. And I also thoroughly enjoy Paldean Fates. I think it is a total banger. Love the fact that I get to sleeve up 7 or 8 hits out of 10 packs.
Yeah. You know what? Shiny Treasure's a great one to open too on the Japanese side. That's actually quite a bit of fun to open. Nice big set too. Like Shiny Treasure. That was fun. Michael, you don't open a whole lot anymore, right?
Not anymore, but if I were to pick, it's hard to pick just one. Japanese 151, I think that allure of, what Master Ball Hollow are you going to get inside the pack, inside the booster box, and which pack are you going to get it from? That's a heap of fun to open. And then, probably Paldean Fate, same as you, Colin. I think, TCG player ranked it as 44% hit rate if you include shinies in there, between IRs, SIRs, shinies, golds. Yeah. That's just a heap of fun to open, isn't it? And then now, on top of that, it's almost like this layered chase from baby shinies to bigger shinies to a $300 Bubble Mew raw as a big chase, plus the Charizard. And the Gardevoir is actually, really nice art as well.
That's the best card still in Scarlet Violet so far. That card's so good.
The God of War.
Oh yeah, easily.
Oh, it is nice.
It's-
It is
in my
nice.
opinion, of
Absolute
course.
beauty.
I like that card. Yeah, it is a gorgeous one. I like,
Funny
I
how
like
we've had two so
the
far. Scarlet Violet Base had one, didn't it?
That had the storyline
Yeah.
routes all the way up to the God of War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also love those.
Funny how we had two.
Oh yeah, they're so good.
So good.
Yeah.
Charizard
It's
has
interesting.
3.
Actually, you know what? I had a bunch of
Yeah,
cheap
true.
Scarlet and Violet base ETBs that I've opened with my daughter. Like, if you want to keep a 5-year-old busy, give them a binder and just give them a stack of Pokemon cards. Like, I've never seen her so focused going through the binder. Like, and you know what's funny? Actually, she's really into Surging Sparks. Like, so
Well, no way.
I
Expensive
got
taste.
one of these tins, and she's like, "I love the Pikachu with the rainbow hat." That is exactly what she said, unprompted, and I'm like, "Wow, she's liking
That
this Pikachu."
lunchbox art is better than the card art. That's crazy.
It
That's
is.
actually a really cool lunchbox.
I like the contrast, the purple, and it's
Yeah,
really it's
actually, it's
gorgeous.
good.
Yeah, it's good. And they've stuck stickers. I got the Terrapagos sticker on my 151 display box. Like, they went crazy with the stickers too. So yeah, they're big into Surging Sparks, which is interesting. We'll take a quick detour here, guys, because there's actually a really good question here. So just from young TY, or young Ty, just in content creation in general, like, we're all kind of grinding it, doing the content creation. I think it looks a lot easier than it really is from the outside. What's the hardest part about getting into content creation? I guess we'll start with you, Nick, because you're quite prolific, and your channel's really kind of evolved in many ways over the last little bit. I like to blow smoke up your ass, but yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your process as an artist?
Oh,
You
man.
write the script standing up naked and you're drinking,
Handstanding and kicking and just throwing paper balls, and whichever one makes it into the actual can, that's what I do. No, the hardest part, man, and it's the corniest, cheesiest crap ever, but it's true, is literally just hitting the record button. Like, you get in your own head with about what you think people want to hear. Some of the videos that I've made where I've just been yapping about absolutely nothing is exactly what certain people wanted to hear. Like, it's not up to you what you think is good content necessarily. In some cases, you have kind of a good gauge for where that is. But ultimately, it's what people want to hear with that stuff. It's ultimately what audiences or people that are not your audience want to hear, or what they think could bring to your channel or something like that too. With the other caveat of that being, dude, like, people are always going to have an issue with something you're doing. It does not matter. PokeRev does nothing but open packs on his page and does nothing absolutely at all. And there's plenty of people who do not like homie. And if people do not like him, it's super easy for someone talking about their favorite cards and money and Pokemon card investing and personal takes on how people do stuff here. It's super easy for people to have issues with that. So I'd say don't let that stuff get to you. Hit the record button, man. Start yapping, start venting, do what you want. Open packs, hit it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Turn the tap on. Dan, I know you mentioned in some of your videos previously that sometimes you find it a bit like sometimes you don't want to do it almost, but like you want to do it. Like, every Monday you do your video, and then you kind of ramp up from there. You try and keep the algorithm and kind of feed the algorithm. Like, what's your process? Like, how do you approach it?
Yeah, I value consistency very highly. So I just Monday at 1 p.m. I'm doing a video. I have a big backlog. Like I could spend the next 6 months putting out 3 a week, but how I'm set up, YouTube is not like a lot of dollars and cents to the business. It's more of like a passion project, more documenting my journey. I put a disproportionate amount of time and energy and effort into it relative to what percent I get a few $100 a month, which is really nothing in the grand scheme of what my business is doing. So, but there are a lot of intangibles. I run the consignments because of having my name and face out there and being trustworthy and all that. And I occasionally will, I will frequently be buying a lot of stuff from people that watch the videos. But I can talk, which I'm sure people have realized just from this live stream tonight. I can get going on good rants from time to time. So I set the requirement for myself to make at least one video a week, and I constantly have a backlog of topics to do. Not all of them end up making it there, but as far as answering Young Ty's question, I think, as Nick had said, just getting started. It's a lot to put yourself out there. It's a lot to put yourself out there publicly, name and face. And whether one thing is a little scary, maybe, like, is anyone going to watch it? Are people going to care? Put it out there for you. Like that's what I've always done. I've been on YouTube for 3.5 years. And it's all respective to your goals too. A lot of people would probably deem a 6,000 subscriber channel 3.5 years into a YouTube channel a failure. To me, it blows my mind that I can go live and there's 50 or 100 people, or lately over 100 people wanting to hear what I'm saying. It blows my mind. I have more people in a live stream these past few weeks than I graduated high school with. Like, I can't believe, what do we have live right now? 144 people. Absolutely blows my mind. But yeah, like, set your goals, figure out what you want to do with the channel, and do it for you. If you are being your true authentic self, and if you are talking about and doing things that make you happy, I think naturally a lot of people will just like that aspect of it. Maybe you won't have, like, my ceiling is not PokeRev level, and that's perfectly fine. I'm very comfortable and happy with that. So do it for you and have fun along the ride, and then see what happens with it.
I think that's fantastic advice. Just enjoy it. Be your genuine self. I think that's what shows through. Yeah, 100%. Michael, what about? We'll move on from this in a sec. But Michael, what do you think, man? What's your process? Like, where do you get started? Like, what gets you going? You're doing a 50-hour week in sales. I know how that feels. I'm in the same boat. It's very lucrative, but it's very tiring. You got customers messaging you like, "Oh, what's the freaking doohickey on this widget?" And it's like, it's on the fucking website. Anyway, go ahead and let me know what you think.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. Well, I mean, first of all, I'll probably say that the space seems really saturated, doesn't it, to be fair? Like, the Pokemon investing / pack opening YouTube space is really, really congested at the moment. And I actually had a video of me playing Pokemon Go, probably like back in 2017, go viral on YouTube, like a little short. Like, it got like 600,000 views. And I haven't really even checked my YouTube channel for ages. And but it was nearly 2 years ago that I started, and it was just literally after watching a video. That's what prompted me to start on YouTube. And to answer, young Ty's question, and thanks for the question, young Ty. I see your comment on my videos a fair bit, so thanks for tuning in, mate. To answer the actual question, what's the hardest part? It really is getting started. And I watched this video, which was some guy talking about how much content we consume, and everyone knows that. You get home from work, or you finish up at the gym, or you've been out with friends, and then you sit on the couch, and like, before you know it, you've scrolled for an hour through Instagram or TikTok or YouTube Shorts. And ultimately, I just don't think that's healthy for anyone. It's so that this video talked about, rather than consuming, start creating. Like, it's better for you mentally, emotionally, physically. Ultimately, is that you split the switch from consuming to creating. And that's the hardest part, getting started, because I don't really like hearing the sound of my own voice. Or like Nick said, sometimes you think the videos that might resonate really well with your audience and do really well go really bad, and you're a bit bummed about yourself. And then sometimes you can be dribbling absolute nothing, or you feel like you're dribbling absolute nothing, and your video performs really, really well. But that's the hardest part. And I remember when I started, I think my first video got like 8 views, and I was just like, man, I'm never going to reach the threshold where you can become a YouTube partner, and your efforts actually get rewarded by a small monetary amount of income from YouTube AdSense. But yeah, that's definitely the hardest part, just getting started.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and it's just like, do it for you. Enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the process. And there's always going to be people that want to say nasty things. And I think what's going on in their lives. Maybe they got something tough they're going through. Maybe I'm the outlet that they want to leave a nasty comment on. But I just have fun, man. I try and have a lot of fun. I drink a lot, so I mean that helps. But yeah, just enjoy it and be genuine. I genuinely think that for sure. So I think. I think we might have a couple of people joining us very shortly. I heard I got a very special guest, so we might have someone. I know there's someone in the waiting room. I'm waiting for somebody else too. So let's talk a little bit about what we're most excited about for next year. Because next year, like 2025, is going to be a banger year, right? We've got Prismatic kicking us off. We've got Owner's Pokemon. We've got the Team Rocket set that's coming out. Like, what are you guys most excited about for next year? I guess I'll start off with Colin, because we haven't heard from Colin for a bit.
Can it not be Team Rocket? Like, I said that really funny, but I don't know how.
Whatever you want, man. If you're excited about something else, that's fine.
No. I don't know how I can choose anything other than Team Rocket. I think that's going to be a total banger. I'm pretty excited about Prismatic Evolution, to be honest with you, too. I really like Eevees, and I think 32 special illustration rares, the Master Balls, everything about it. I think 2025 is going to be just completely off the chain. I don't really have anything more to say. Like I could ramble about it, but I'm just going to be spouting off nonsense because I love Pokemon. I love everything that I touch that relates to Pokemon. And then I say to myself or say to my channel, oh, I'm not a really big fan of this card. And then I pull it in a pack and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best card ever. Like, so it doesn't take much to get me excited.
Nick, what are you excited about for next year?
Oh, you already know for the Unova Gen 5 151, baby. That's I'm opening so much that set. That's my favorite generation easily. That's gonna be. I don't even care. I don't care. It's almost swore. I don't care what anybody has to say. I'm opening so much of that set.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, look, Rocket's going to be great. I'm a huge Rocket baby. Like, you know,
Rocket'll be fun.
Yeah, Rocket's going to be great. I actually have a binder here to do Reddit Poke investing. I came down here and I found this binder of all these old.
It's full of all these Rocket cards from 2025. Guys, is this crazy or what?
How did I do? What were they worth anything? I don't know. But no, I think Megas are coming back, right? Like that's going to be
allegedly.
Like, I mean, that would get me really excited. Because Megas just blew my mind. Like seeing the Mewtwo and it's like, oh, it's Mew 3, and then it wasn't actually. I remember that. Like Charizard with the blue friggin' flame tusks. I was like, oh man, that was my jam, man. That really.
That's the other thing people are kind of forgetting about too. ZA comes out next year as well. Yeah, that's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how it's gonna break down. Maybe I'm out of the loop here, but is that gonna be the start of the next era? Is that how it's gonna go?
No, that's like so how Legends Arceus came out, like basically the last year of that era, and then the year after that's going to be the next gen. So it's the end of the era.
So that's going to be like the Crown Zenith style, like end of Scarlet and Violet.
Yep.
So that's going to be that's going to be a special one. Yeah, that is exciting. What about you, Dan?
I'm excited for everything mentioned. Very excited for all the shiny cardboard coming our way. I'm definitely excited a lot about the business, the new venture into live streaming. I am excited to see where that takes us. And then outside of Pokemon, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it or not. I don't know if you can even make out what that is, but the MetaZoo revival. I'm excited to see how the Game Cubator Labs will steward the taking over that ownership of the IP. Well, I'm excited to see what they do with that. I live up in the deep woods in upstate New York. Might have seen a Bigfoot or two in my day, so seeing how he gets put on shiny cardboard, reimagined, that's exciting.
Only complaint about there's only one complaint that they didn't call it Meta 2. That's my only such a missed opportunity.
That would have been so good.
Meta 2.
That would have been so good. What about you, Michael? What are you most excited about for next year?
Hey, has anyone heard if Rocket's going to be a booster box set in English or?
No.
The rumors are a few people are saying it's going to be a holiday set. It's ETBs, but I don't think it's been confirmed as far as I know.
Yeah, allegedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that, which would be a real shame, I think. But that's the set I'm most excited for. I was a massive EX Team Rocket Returns fan and massive original Team Rocket fan, so that'll get me way hooked in. I love the dark look, and that's what I've been saying for a while. I love the artwork that Scarlet and Violet has brought us, this new, illustration rare and special illustration rare, and how, you feel like you're living in the environment with the Pokemon, so to speak. But other than maybe a few cards like, Groudon from Paradox Rift and, as one example, everything's been pretty soft and fluffy. It'd be nice to have a bit of a meaner looking set. If we can get Team Rocket, this Team Rocket set with, maybe some sort of Dark Gyarados as a SIR or, Dark Scyther, Dark Mewtwo or something as an SIR, I'm excited to see what the cards look like. Can't wait. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to it too. So we have two mystery guests here. We have Rudy from Alpha Investments and we have Mimic Brew coming on. So I'm really excited to see both these guys.
That's not.
Oh my god!
Hi, I'm Rudy from Alpha Investments.
Dude, I didn't even know.
We always come in on the same podcast.
Gang's all here.
It's
I
Roxanne and
thought
Mimic.
Rudy was joining us. I'm disappointed.
They're gonna help me close it down. I've been drinking a bit, so I just sent Rock a message and said, "Hey, do you mind taking over as host for a little bit?" Because
he's like, "Yeah, it's like I got 20 minutes till my bedtime. I'm good."
Yeah,
literally 20 minutes.
I saw him yawning in the waiting room. So
nah, bro, I was
jaw
yawning and I
muscles.
was just dancing, bro. I don't know what you're
I
talking about.
heard the audio too, and I think his mom was like, "Hey, you coming down for dinner?" And he's like, "No, mom, I'm doing a stream." I was like,
Yeah, no, it's that's what happens when you have whenever your parents still living with you, man. That's what happens
Living
when
with you.
Yeah, I pay rent. My parents just like live with me. I'm just kidding.
Thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it, guys. So, Mimic,
Nice
Dan,
to meet you guys.
Yeah, hey,
Hello.
everyone. Do you guys all know?
I've been in here for an hour. I've been in
Yeah,
here
I know. I
this whole
saw you.
time,
I said 10:30, Dan.
Yeah, sorry, comments.
I thought you were tricking me, and that was your way of like not letting me get in
I
here.
saw you. I was like, I can't message you. But Dan, Mimic, you wanted to talk a little bit about something. TCG buyouts. I think that's a good segue. You guys can help me out here a little bit.
You want to get right into that immediately?
Yeah, why not? These guys are good at scheduling.
Well, there's a lot of content creators here that cover Pokemon card prices, like myself. So I think it's important that we identify when the card prices change to the upside, when there's a good reason for it, aka when buyouts occur, stuff, such as that. And Danny Phantom is the only content creator I've seen in the last week to even touch on this at all. And he's only touching on it from a sealed investment, sealed products standpoint. But that TCG player Black Friday 10% back scenario that happened on November 29th has had a massive effect on raw card Pokemon prices. From like right here and now, you can go to Crown Zenith, go to Near Mint, look up the Pikachu Secret Rare, look up the Mewtwo V-Star, go to Ninetales from Obsidian Flames. Like some of these cards have doubled in price over the last week. And if you look at the volume and you look at the chart and the volume bar, it's always November 29th, Black Friday. So I bring this up in my hottest cards of the week that I, just posted an hour ago or whatever. But a lot of people are just, like if you're like me, almost all my raw cards I buy at local card shops here in Phoenix, and they just, look up TCG Player, and that's how much the price is, because TCG Player, I've talked about a lot, has a massive influence on this niche, on the prices, because people just don't use any other site when it comes to market values. And so for TCG Player to do this 10% cash back, and then this amount of people, this influx of volume on one specific day to where now cards are automatically worth twice as much as they were a week ago, people should know why. And, you should second guess before you buy a lot of these cards at this new increased price, because some of them do have a lot of availability and they will drop back down. Some of them, like we saw this in the past with Magikarp IR from Paldea, they don't have a lot of availability. So when that buyout happened last April, it did hold its price. So I'm just saying, be careful with current market values, because that TCG Player Black Friday deal had a massive effect on a very specific large amount of them.
So Dan, you put some rocket emojis in the chat, got my attention. I do like a good rocket emoji. If you had a little, can you get the trending upwards emoji? That gets me going a little more. But what's your take on this?
Hold on, I had to drop the emoji. Yeah, Retro makes a very good point. Is that a buyout or just people taking advantage of a good deal? And consumers are very fickle. Consumers are not always the most educated and aware of what's actually happening. But Black Friday deals have been a thing for quite a while on TCG Player, and it's the same story every year. Maybe because of the broader state that we're in. We're in a manic state. We're in a boom state right now. It's bigger this year than it was last year and the year before. But I said it in the comments. People are falling over themselves. Okay.
I'm so sorry. I've been laughing at the comments.
Who's Johnny?
I love it. I fucking love it.
People are falling over themselves to save 10% on. I mean, as other Dan said, when cards go up 50%, up 80%, when they double, and then you're saving 10%, you're not saving 10% anymore. You're spending significantly over what the fair market price is for that card, was for that card a week or two prior. One thing that I did personally, because and this is, I don't know if we want to steer towards this way in the conversation, it kind of falls into the whole buyout territory. But I went shopping on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of Black Friday week. I didn't buy a single card on Black Friday because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that the prices were going to run up. A lot of people were going to be spending like crazy. And an hour or two into the sale, the 10% discount barely got you back down on most things that I would have been buying back to what actual market price was. But yeah, like I do a lot of buying raw, grading, and selling. I have graded myself personally hundreds and hundreds, probably at some point soon nearing 1,000 Celebrations Charizards. One thing that will occasionally be deemed like a buyout is literally me just trying to supply the market with the demand that they have for graded slabs. Like I will occasionally go on TCG Player and I will buy 50 of a card. And then a week later, I'll buy 50 more. And then 2 weeks later, I'll buy 50 more. I'm not trying to manipulate anything. I'm trying to just put cards into plastic and sell it to the market. Because
can I follow up when I get a chance? I want to follow up what he's saying.
Yeah, sure. Let's let Dan finish. Yeah.
Okay, so first. Sorry, we're both Dan, so I got confused.
In spite of populations of 10,000 plus on some of these cards, like Celebrations Charizard, I was selling it 2 years ago when it was under 200, then it went above 200, then it went back under. Like I grade 10 to 20 of that card a month, every month. And I will do that forever, as long as the play makes sense, as long as it makes money. So
can you change the question, Rob, off the screen?
That's my whole thing.
Thank you. So real quick, I was just gonna say it's not like in general all the popular cards in TCG Player went up, 10% or whatever. From when me doing the video I do, it seemed very targeted. Like I said, like the Mewtwo V-Star, the Secret Rare Pikachu, and the Ninetales. There's specific cards that is like 80, 90, 100. Like you're talking hundreds of copies of some of these, and some of these cards are $40, $50, $60. And, in this scenario, it was Black Friday, but over the last couple months, and I don't know why I'm thinking it's GameStop. It's weird to think it's GameStop, but there's some massive new player that is making massive buyouts of very specific single raw cards on TCG Player. And it's usually near the end of every month for like the last 3 or 4 straight months. And it's something I've noticed, because I do the video every week. And yeah, I'm just seeing more buyouts than ever. I'm now seeing this buyout happen again at the end of the month on Black Friday while Pokemon's at its peak hype FOMO. So maybe that's why it's bigger than ever, because it's a perfectly timed deal while Pokemon's exploding. But yeah, there's some new player in the game that is making massive buyout moves on specifically TCG Player. And I've seen it for the last few months now.
But what defines a buyout? Like I'm one very small seller and I might spend 10, 20, 30 grand all in one go. I might buy 50 of 30, 40, 50 different cards, 50 each of that many cards. And I'm just one little guy trying to buy, grade, sell.
If you're going to buy a lot of cards off one site and you're trying to make an actual market manipulation, all you got to do is do it on TCG Player because of what I said earlier, because that specific, however many copies they have, doesn't matter if there's a million other copies spread out between another, 20 different platforms. TCG Player does dictate the price first and foremost, and it has a ripple effect across all the market values. So you really can manipulate just by buying out a smaller quantity available on specifically only TCG Player, and then all the other prices adjust everywhere from there. That's just kind of what I've noticed. Because if you try to do a buyout anywhere other than TCG Players, no one's even going to notice.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, what is a buyout? If I'm buying cards to grade and then sell graded as opposed to raw, that's just me buying and selling items. That's not, I'm not trying to make the price go up or down.
I would consider a buyout. Sorry, I was going to say I would consider a buyout when you just buy out all the stock available. I consider manipulation when you purposely target the higher listed prices of that same card. So that's kind of how I view it. When you unnecessarily pay more than you need to on TCG Player for a card, that's how I view manipulation. Whereas buyout, you're just buying one high, then you're buying all the rest low. And as the price slowly goes up, you're kind of alternating. That's what it looks like in the sales when I look at the sales logs anyway. At least recently, like the Black Friday one, they were buying up everything available, regardless of what its listed price was.
What do you think, Rock?
So I know a guy. I'm not gonna really say his name, but I'm pretty sure Opossum knows who he is. But he did a lot of tests of buying
Dama?
out or Dama.
Dang,
Okay.
threw him under the bus, man.
God damn you, Dan!
Hey, Dama is very upfront about everything he does.
No,
He
yeah,
doesn't
he's
care.
very upfront, and
Yeah, it's whatever.
so it's a bit tricky. Buyouts and market manipulation, I feel like, go hand in hand, but are slightly different. I think buyouts can be unintentional as well, and also intentional. Market manipulation, I feel, is another component to buyouts. I feel it's another level to it. In my opinion, manipulation can be involving individuals who are working together to artificially inflate the prices, or people, sellers going on alt accounts, buying their own listings to make a false sense of scarcity, false sense of demand. That's another thing. Buyouts, I think, in Dan's case, I mean, I don't know if that would be considered a complete buyout if it doesn't really move the price too much. There's might be an unintentional buyout because people are seeing multiple copies being sold for. So maybe that'll create some sort of, FOMO or some sort of demand aspect to it, which inadvertently raises the prices, no matter if it's intentional or not intentional. So yeah, it's just my take to it.
Yeah, what Castle's saying on the bottom here, like, welcome to real life, guys. This is how the rich get richer. It's just kind of what happens. But
That's true.
Didn't Pokey any work for Berkshire Hathaway? Didn't Brian used to work for Berkshire?
I think Brian's a psyop. He's a CIA MK.
Dude, he's had a lot of jobs. He sold houses.
Brian? No, not ever. He wouldn't be here. I mean, his
I
hair's
think he
not
did
that
work for
good.
Berkshire Hathaway.
He's
sure.
AI. Brian, by the way.
I've never actually seen him in person. I've only talked to him through other people. So
that is it. Yeah. Michael, you're all the way over in Oz. So like, what you see this from maybe a slightly different lens. Like, are you guys using TCG Player when you're buying selling over there? Is that I hear a lot of sellers want to buy at price charting and they want to sell at TCG prices. Like, how do you guys do it over there?
Yeah, I don't dabble too much in singles. It's predominantly sealed personally. Obviously, I keep a look at the market prices and trends of singles, and I occasionally dabble in doing some videos on, which illustration rares or special illustration rares have made some moves recently. And, but yeah, you're right. TCG Player is tough down in Australia. We're a bit limited down here. We're an island at the very south of the world, but I don't really have much of an opinion on buyouts because I don't really go into that space too much, Rob. I definitely agree with what Rock says. Sometimes it's definitely intentional, and other times it's just not. Like, what Dan from New York does, KetchumAllCollectibles. Unintentionally that could have a ripple effect on the market. But yeah, I don't really dabble too much in that space, Rob, when it comes to singles. I just if I feel like I can buy a single for the binder that I like at the right price, I'll grab it. That's as far as it sort of goes with singles to me. I don't make any grading plays. I don't try and manipulate the market by, buying all 100 copies and making a new floor to the market. I can see how it can happen. It's very easy to make it happen. If there's 50 copies listed at $24 of like a Steelix illustration rare, that's the ongoing jokes from this video, that Steelix is going to the moon from Paradox Rift. And, we buy out all 50 copies and we create a new floor to the market at $30, and then we buy out all copies at $30 and work in conjunction with someone else to do that. Of course it's going to raise the floor of the price.
Dan, do you buy a lot of singles from TCG Player?
I mean, a lot is relative. I spent 6 figures in 2024, and I'll probably be spending 10 grand a month or something in 2025.
I would say that's a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a lot more than I buy.
But
Like,
again, like, I never have bought with the intent to, like, I'm gonna buy at 70 and I'm gonna make the market price go to 100 and then I'm gonna sell there. I've always bought at 70, knowing I'm gonna grade it and sell the ones for a profit, hopefully hit a lot of 10s. I'm gonna sell the Ross pretty much at break even or a slight loss. I guess I could probably be a lot more profitable, or at least in theory, if I were to try to do things that way. But that's never how I've done it. I target very high pop, very popular cards with populations above 5,000, 10,000, and the liquidity on those cards is mind-blowing.
It's crazy.
I have a question. Do you think you can, for everyone, can you actually manipulate the market by yourself, or does it take a team effort? I think it actually, not necessarily. I don't know if intent matters on how it impacts the price, but it does matter based on my perception. Like, I have no problem with Dan spending lots of money on TCG Player to buy cards. If he's not immediately, if he was, I should say it back up. If he immediately lists those cards again for $15 more than he paid for it, or $20, then I'm going to be, I don't like that very much. But that's where I'm not saying it doesn't affect what the price of the card is, what you're doing, but your intent is very not that. Which
so you can.
Can I just push on that?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Pokemon owns Millennium Print Group. They print it for some cost. They immediately sell it to the distributor for more than it costs them to make it. Distributors buy, they immediately mark it up, sell it to an LGS who buys it and immediately marks it up. And it all comes down to the consumer at the end of the day. And I'm saying this from the position that, like, I buy 100 Celebrations Charizards. I don't do that to move up the floor price so that I can sell my raw grading misses for like more than I sold them for. If the market does go up, I list them at low list. I list them wherever they're going to sell at. And if you watch my YouTube channel, I tell people, if you are trying to make grading plays, do not buy from me on TCG Player. All the cards that I sell are well within the rights to be sold as near mint on TCG Player, because they are, but none will be gem mint. I pre-grade all my stuff, and I'm careful to buy from people who don't grade. I'm careful, but like, yeah, I think it's,
everyone should watch Dan's YouTube channel, by the way. Sorry.
And like Pokemon investing, a lot of us here, some amount of us here, we buy stuff at market, whether we're buying it from our allocations, whether we're going to, I mean, you yourself, you go to 151, you buy product, and then you sell it later that night on stream at a higher price than you bought it, right? So I'm not even, I'm almost defending an action that I don't even partake in. Or at least I don't directly partake in. I buy 100 Celebrations Charizards, I grade 70 of them, and then I sell the remaining 30. If the market dipped 10%, I sell them at 10% less. If the market went up 10%, I sell them at 10% more. But I'm not like trying to or dictating that price whatsoever.
I'll chime in real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So $15 if you bought 100 of those, right, and then you listed them up for $15. Market is, market does, wham bam, people buy whatever the hell. Is there a line where you think that would be kind of scummy though? Is there a line where if you bought them all and then you relisted them back up, where you would kind of be a scumbag personally?
I don't think so, because I'm.
There you go. We don't need to talk about it anymore. There's no scumminess to it whatsoever.
Didn't we already solve
genuinely.
this?
I don't think so. Like, obviously,
double, triple, quadruple. None of it really matters.
People should not buy it for that. People would not buy it for that.
Why shouldn't they buy it for that though?
I mean, people should buy things for what, and that does happen. Look at Moonbreon. Look at Moonbreon. One of the rare cards that like comes out of the gate at this set price, and then it's higher than it was then.
Sure.
Like the market, supply and demand. The market is bigger than any one of us. 12 billion cards printed every year. If I make a play on a card, if I buy 10,000 of a card that's $1 a piece, I financially would have the ability to do that. And 5-10 years from now, the card's going for $5 or $10, in spite of me having 10,000 of them. Like, I'm not actively doing that. This is I'm defending something that I don't do.
Yeah, exactly. I know you don't do it.
I think someone buying product, and going back to Colin with Costco, I think someone buying product from another market participant at the price that they're selling it, how is that bad? And then, hey, I have this item. Like, no one wants this.
Yeah.
I have this item. This is a Stein. It goes for $30. I don't think I'm evil for like listing it on my eBay at 100. People will probably not buy it. If they don't want to buy it, that's fine. If someone buys it, like another adult decides to spend that money, it
Gotcha.
feels weird to be outside to these transactions and like take issue when adults are transacting amongst themselves.
For sure. That's kind of what I was getting to with my point. Is it kind of seems like everybody has different personal parameters of how I feel about this whole thing. And what's going to be manipulation for one is not going to be manipulation for another, or actually like a buyout for one or another. And as someone who used to care a lot about it and kind of doesn't care at all anymore, because it is what it is. I've watched it happen for years and years, and so has everybody else. It is what it is. People will do what they do. I kind of don't think it's just like one person, kind of what Colin was getting at. Colin, over there, that way. Sorry. Colin, I kind of think that's what he was getting at. It's basically just a bunch of different players. So, for example, just to put on the tinfoil hat and speculate, say Dan Catch 'em all basically bought 100 cards, right? Who's to say someone doesn't see that big flux of cards? They have 10 of them, and they're like, oh, there's nothing on TCG Player. Someone bought that stuff. He had no intention of doing that. But then Rob comes over here and is like, opportunity, baby. I'm going to list this stuff up for $200. Of course, if you know it's the same seller, that obviously doesn't work. But say someone does come in there, see that said opportunity to do something. This person kind of takes the blame for what this person is actually doing in cases like that. Obviously, I do agree with Mimic that some cards are kind of targeted. People do go after specific hot cards that are either promoted via social media, Instagram, Reddit, and people that are not sometimes in this room that don't fully understand will easily fall into hype or things like that too and bite onto it. But I don't think it's just one person that really does it. One person can start it, but I think a big train of people has to finish it. And
I wouldn't
think
be surprised. Sorry, I wouldn't be surprised if Bubble Mew gets hyped all the way up to $1,000.
Well, that has all the ingredients to do it too. That's like that literally has like
specifically the Bubble Mew
ingredient. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
but I wasn't coming at you, Dan, any specific way. I was just asking the question just to set up the whole chain of what I was trying to say, because like what's good for you is not necessarily good for this person, and the circumstances of how someone stumbles upon said circumstance can greatly affect, in my opinion, how people see said thing. As someone who used to care but does not really care at all anymore, because people are adults, they'll spend their money how they want.
Yeah, and one thing.
I think there's a lot of people who, as soon as money's brought up, like, people get upset about it. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, some people probably don't like that I bought a pallet of Costco stuff.
Sure.
Whatever. Like, you got to live your life, because this is what's happened. Someone said it. This is what's happening in the real stock market. And I just saw a comment. Someone said, I don't know where it is now, but it's the problem is TCG Player. Goose C said it. But if it's not TCG Player, then it's just something else. It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
It's just going to change somewhere else.
Well, people like TCG Player because the charts look clean, man. I mean, that's why everyone likes to use their websites. They're so easy for
built-in charts, baby.
Like
they got bought by eBay, didn't they? A couple of months ago.
Yeah, they're all part of the same.
And guess how many? Every week there's these updates rolling out to where every single week the charts look more and more like stock charts, like volume bars, volatility bars. It's literally turning into Wall Street bets.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what the people want, baby.
The only thing that's missing is the print run volumes. You need the actual full trading volume picture, which I would love to have that. I mean, some kind of announcement from Pokemon, hey, we printed this many boxes. That would be the missing piece of the puzzle for me, is like, hey, we know exactly how many booster boxes are out there for each set, and then you can kind of calculate how many got ripped, and that would be kind of interesting for me. But that's a bit of a side tangent there for sure. So I want to go ahead, Nick. What were you going to say?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I said
yeah, I would like to see that quite a lot. I'd love to see that. So Michael, yeah, I want to call on you a little bit here and kind of ask you. So let's shift gears a little bit. I know we talked a little bit about the buyouts and stuff. So the future of kind of modern cards versus vintage. I know a lot of people earlier in the year were saying, hey, look, vintage is coming back. Like, that's where you should be putting your money. Like, forget about vintage. So forget about modern. Has vintage kind of peaked? Are we at kind of the end there for vintage? Is it all like just modern all the way now, ultra modern? Like, or is vintage going to come back 30th, 35th anniversary? Like, what's your take?
Oh, mate, I'm not wealthy enough to buy into vintage like some of the big players here. No, it's one take I have on it, and this might be a bit of an interesting take. So I relate a lot of things to cars, right? So there are some classics that will never die, but as things get older, like, cars from the 70s, Ferraris from the 70s, they start at a price, obviously, when they're sold new, and then they become collectible. They become eventually to a point where people don't really care too much about them anymore. And the money sort of grows along that chain as the demographic that had it on their poster as a wall, like on their wall as a poster as a child, can now afford it and have disposable income to buy it. So I think the same sort of thing relates to vintage Pokemon cards that, you know, people predominantly my age, I imagine maybe in their early to mid 30s, you know, that grew up with Wizards of the Coast, you know, our disposable income is only going to increase over the next few decades. So, but then unfortunately, like depending on how long the Pokemon IP lasts, the whole point I was trying to make with the cards there is eventually some cards drop off in price because the people that grew up wanting them no longer exist anymore. So, you know, maybe Wizards of the Coast will eventually get to a point where, you know, the people that liked it are 80 years old in a nursing home and couldn't care less about it anymore. So I think there'll always be classics, you know, base set, first edition, particularly some of those E-series sets like Skyridge will always go down as classics. But, you know, I guess the point I'm trying to make is it's risen to a massive point, vintage. I think it'll continue to rise as our disposable income becomes greater and streaming platforms and like whatnot and YouTube become more popular. But eventually it could well get to the point where no one resonates with Wizards of the Coast anymore in 50 years' time. Like it could completely drop off the planet. But yeah, for the near future, to essentially, you know, put it into some relevance for right now, yeah, for sure. Wizards of the Coast will continue to go up in price. It's, you know, as more and more boxes get ripped, it's only getting rarer. And our disposable income, you know, you look at the charts for, you know, this is predominantly a male-based hobby, although there's a lot of chicks that are in it as well. But, you know, for both chicks and men, you know, our income just continues to go up into our 30s and 40s and 50s, and we're going to have heaps of disposable income to spend on Wizards of the Coast. I can see it just continuing to rise. The other question asked there, though, you know, is Wizards of the Coast or Vintage era going to outperform Modern? That's a big question, isn't it? Because you can go, well, okay, I could spend, you know, $10,000 on one Team Rocket booster box, you know, original unlimited edition Team Rocket booster box, or I could spend $10,000 on multiple cases of modern Pokemon booster boxes. You know, which one's going to double in price first? You know, that is a Team Rocket booster box going to become a $20,000 booster box quicker than your, you know, 20 cases of a modern Pokemon booster box going to go to $20,000? That's the question for the ages, isn't it? In terms of the investment, it's like investing in stocks. You know, which one's going to return your money quicker? That's essentially what the question is.
Yeah, 100%. I think you make a really good point there. And I'd actually, if it's okay, I'd like to hear from everyone on this. I mean, I'll kind of go around, but Dan, I mean, you know, what do you think on this subject?
As far as like vintage slabs go, I don't really understand the sealed. I absolutely get it. Base set boxes are $15,000. Fossil Jungle Rocket somewhere between 10 and 12. But the argument that like vintage is too expensive, Moonbreon is $2,000. You can have 95% of PSA 10 WotC Hollows chase cards. You can't have Lugia, you can't have Skyridge Charizard, you can't have base set first edition Charizard. But you can have
Latias and Latios is back up 2,000.
Yeah, like you
Latias
can have
and Latios.
most WotC Hollow PSA 10s that have populations of 50 or 100 or a few hundred for the same or less cost than some of these modern chase cards are with 10,000 plus population. I'm not trying to make like a vintage better, modern worse, any kind of an argument like that. I don't speculate in slabs long term. I have a very small holding. The way that I see in my business, like I buy raw, I grade, I sell plastic. I think plastic is universally overvalued by the market, at least for my personal taste. That doesn't mean the price is going to go down. I just think it's too much for too rich for my blood, and that's modern and vintage. So yeah, that's my take on like slabs. As far as sealed though, I 100% am the same spot as Michael. I would rather 20 cases of a modern set at launch than one single vintage box. I think obviously nobody thought Surging was going to really double so quickly out of the gate, or maybe some people did, but that's not always going to happen. But I think that's more plausible for a $100 box to get to 200 than a lot of those $10,000-$15,000 boxes to get to 20 or 30.
Yeah, I would agree on that. What do you think, Rock?
I think I pretty much agree. I feel like vintage had its golden era of growth. I think right now it's just going to slow down a bit, but I think just modern in general has just a lot more room to grow, and that's just that's just completely honest here. I think vintage definitely priced out a lot of people. And for those reasons, I feel modern is just way more accessible to the large majority. And I think there's just put it simply, there's just way more room to grow. Yeah, that's just my short take on it.
Yeah, I like that. What about Japanese though, Nick? I mean, there was a comment I think I put up about Japanese is still really accessible for
Not
vintage.
comparable. It's not even
They're
kind
easier,
of the same.
right?
But to say none of it has value would be insane because like some of the most expensive cards that do exist are Japanese exclusive. But for the most general part, like you want to pick up like the old not first edition, excuse me, Japanese like base set or jungle or anything like that. I mean, it's not near as expensive for to pick up that stuff. It's crazy though, because like vintage, as much as like the vintage gets like the bad end of a stick sometimes for arguments, I will say like vintage fans, I kind of envy how like diehard fans of vintage that they actually are. You don't really see that with modern too much. You don't see where people are like super diehard modern near as like crazy or near as good, because I feel like for modern you have a lot of people that are just waiting for the next thing. They're waiting for like what it is. If it happens to be something older, I feel like a lot of people are very quick to jump ship and then be like, oh, we thought all like the Paradox Pokemon were cool. No longer now that it's not $200. And it's weird because there's people obviously who like vintage for money, but there's a lot of people that really just like vintage and the older generations, all that stuff, regardless of how I feel about it, just genuinely. It's crazy. I feel like
that's the TikTok era of just, we need another quick hit. So I was really cool with the Roaring Moon 6 months ago, but I don't care about it anymore. I want the Pikachu.
There's no shame in the game. That is what it is. It's just, it's a very observable thing where when there's new things in modern, it's super easy for people to pick up, while people that are fans of vintage are like, I love this set. I love these cards. These are my favorite things. I don't care what anybody says about this stuff. This is mine. I like this. And it's kind of cool.
On that?
Yeah.
Because I want to ask Dan, because he's at more card shows than any of us too. Seems to me like vintage is at its peak, at its best at card shows. Because a lot of those people you just described go to a lot of card shows, like the kind of people who collect one type of Pokemon or have the money or already have the slabs and stuff to trade at card shows. Vintage isn't near as popular as modern on the internet and sales and pure volume on eBay. But when I do go to card shows, I see tons of people carrying around a bunch of vintage slabs and they're obsessed with them and trading them with the Bulbasaur or whoever. So like at specific card shows, that seems to be where the most, crazy collectors of WotC era and vintage, I could be wrong, but that's where I see the kind of gathering of vintage collectors is at card shows more than anywhere else.
Yeah, I definitely know quite a few people that are into collecting vintage. As I said, I don't really myself anymore. I did back when, so pre-2020, I valued this stuff more than the market did. Since 2020, I don't collect Pokemon cards much anymore because almost universally, everything is too expensive for my taste. I loved WotC First Edition Holos when PSA 9s were, when PSA 9 First Edition Holos were $30, $20. I was buying in open boxes. I valued Jungle First Edition boxes at $300, and I bought dozens of them for that, and I opened them. Like this card, I don't remember what it was when I added it to my collection. This is like my one PC vintage card. It's a PSA 9 First Edition Shining Gyarados. I know it's a 9, it's not a 10, it's the wrong number. But like that card is less expensive than this one. And this is also a 9. And this isn't, maybe this is semi-vintage, 2016. I don't know if that's modern now or if it's vintage. I don't really know where the line in the sand is. But if I was forced to, and thankfully I'm not being forced to, if I was forced to speculate on like putting 50 grand to 100 grand in slabs, and I had to like I'm doing with my palette right now. I have palettes locked away, not touching them until 2030. If I had to do that with slabs, I think the value's in the vintage. And maybe that's because I'm a Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Crystal guy. Maybe that's because that's a card I came out with. But I would bet a lot of money, if I had to, on the vintage slabs outpacing the modern slabs. But yeah, thankfully I don't have to, and so I'm not doing it. I'm very big on walk versus talk. And I'm very transparent, open, and honest about all my positions. I have almost no position in vintage slabs. This is almost my entire holdings because it's my favorite art in the entire hobby. But I have big positions in ultra modern sealed because I'm just more optimistic on the future price appreciation of that as opposed to slabs.
Do you think
So
there's
guys-
a double? Sorry, do you think there's a double standard as far as vintage and modern when it comes to pop reports with PSA? Like, do you think we already know with modern pop report doesn't matter, but with vintage, those collectors seem to reference pop reports a lot when listing and like. Do you think that'll have effect, or do you think the fact that pop reports on modern don't matter near as much that'll matter less for vintage? I'm asking Dan.
I always get I get some kind of feeling when I hear that pop reports don't matter. They absolutely do. Like if Moonbryon only was pop 1,000 instead of pop 13,000.
Because I think they do matter for vintage, and I think they don't for modern. So I kind of think there is a double standard, but just asking.
It's just a silly thing to say to me because like here's one that's a really big, and I don't have a PSA 1 in hand, but like this thing is 30,000 pop in PSA 10, and the price has doubled in the past month. If that was only pop 10,000, it would be worth a lot more because pop does matter. Like I understand the sentiment. I understand what's trying to be said. Like in spite of the pops being significantly higher, but truly like I could be wrong. I'm just one guy with one set of opinions. I've been around for 10 years. I've graded a lot of stuff, tens of thousands of cards. I've sold millions of dollars worth of cardboard in the past several years. But I don't think a lot of these cards are going to age that well personally. I'm not invested into vintage or modern slabs, but I think a lot of these modern slabs, like we are at the pinnacle, and maybe the actual peak is higher from here, but we are at the peak of all that Pokemon TCG has ever been popularity wise. And if and when the hobby is down overall in market participation 2, 5, 10, 20 years from now, a lot of those pops don't matter people will realize that there are 50 Moonbryons they invested in back in 2024. If market participation goes down, pop does matter. I mean, supply and demand. There's two facets of that, and pop supply is one of them. It matters.
So, guys, I'm very mindful of people's time. We've been going for almost 2 hours here. I'm also mindful of my bedtime and my marriage. So, I want to wrap it up, guys. And I just want to leave everyone with a very simple, easy to answer question. Best investment right now in the Pokemon space. What are we looking at? We'll kick it off with Michael. What is the number one investment? What should you make right now before it's too late?
If you'd asked me 12 months ago, I would have said a Fusion Strike booster box. If you ask me now, if you bought Surging Sparks at launch pricing, I still am buying Sword and Shield boxes.
Yeah, me too.
Watch 12 months time, Fusion Strike. What are we at now? 240 US.
Man,
it's going to double.
$300, man. It's almost. I think it's 280 something today.
Oh wow! I've taken my eye off that for a month, and look at that go.
Special set. I like that set.
Oh mate, you put us on the spot here a little bit. Even a month ago I would have said Fusion Strike. I think it's going to be the second highest box behind Evolving. I think it's just going to pick up more steam, Fusion Strike. But I still think some nice Sword and Shield boxes, Lost Origin, Silver Tempest, even Astral Fusion will outpace some Scarlet and Violet. Surging Sparks obviously is doing crazy things, but yeah, my pick would be Surging Sparks booster box. If you could have got it at launch price, it's a bit of a hard pill to swallow now that it's pretty much double. But I'm still parking money into Sword and Shield. That's where I'm at.
I like it. What about you, Dan? Sealed wise.
My answer is going to be kind of cheating because like Crown Zenith, I was live earlier this week on my own channel, and there was a guy in chat talking about how he's getting sub $3 packs of Crown Zenith from those Sea and Sky things, some credit card rewards stacked with some Rakuten thing and whatever it may be. If you're able to go to your Costco and you can get 151 at like sub what normal retail is, it's kind of cheating because you're just literally buying in at like 50-60% of market price. But I've bought over 10,000 packs of Crown Zenith from people going to their Costco's, buying a pallet, and then just shipping it all to me. I don't have Costco's near me. I don't really go buy the pallet from stores like that, but I buy from people who do that, and I think it's crazy. I think it's an awesome set.
You should
Well,
buy
both of
from
them.
Colin.
Yeah, I mean, shoot me a DM. I am always buying packs for the streams at like 75% of market.
Costco every
So
week.
Yeah, like
Buy up
what do
all
I
of
think is the
Canada's
best buy?
stock.
I think the best buy is the thing that I've spent $50,000 on in the past 2 weeks, and that is Crown Zenith loose packs, and that's why I'm putting that money into it, because it's just immediate margin selling into the live streams, and I think it's going to go up from here.
Yeah, it's a great set, Crown Zenith. Rock, I know you and Nick are less more in collecting side of things, but what do you think? What do you think will be the big headline next year? I guess what do you guys think?
F-sealed product, just go all in on Vaporeon cards. That's pretty much it. So any Vaporeon card to the moon, man.
And store them in your card prison binder.
Yeah, you should.
Nice.
That was actually, you took my answer, Mimic. That's what I was gonna say.
Real answer though, basic bitch answer. Silver Tempest.
Oh, there we
Did you
go.
swear?
Why?
What did I say?
Did you just
What?
swear?
No, he said bitch. He said bitch. That's
He
okay.
did.
Female dog.
Who is swear?
Yeah.
I don't see him.
It's going out of stock this week. This week it'll be out of stock on PokemonCenter.com.
Possibly. Yeah.
Rock messaged me. He's like, I'm having trouble putting my credit card in. Like, it's got some capture thing.
Oh
Can
my
you help me
God.
out with this? And I was like, oh, how many are you buying, dude? Like, so,
Yeah, I asked him for a loan.
I helped him out. I mean, it's by Silver Tempest booster boxes. Are you doing asking a top loader version of Card Prison? I saw someone pop that up in the chat, Rock.
Yeah, I am planning on doing top loaders, exclusive, and just regular sleeved cards, binders as well. So definitely in the works.
I did write to your support line because some of the cards escaped the Card Prison. They organized
That does
jailbreak.
happen.
So,
That does happen.
how
So
do I-
apologies.
Who do I speak to about that?
I'll just hit up like Cool Train Orion and he'll get it. He'll
Some
get
of
it
the
over with.
Quagsires made a play for it, but yeah.
He's
Nick, what
not
do you
stopping at binders, by the way, guys. He's got some other products coming out in the near future. I just want to tease that.
So, enough about me.
I'm excited.
I appreciate it though. Thank
What do
you.
you think, Nick? What's going to be the big thing next year?
Steelix.
Yeah, boy.
No, not Steelix. I mean, I don't know. I don't really think we've seen the best set so far from Scarlet and Violet. I don't think we've seen it yet. I think what comes later in the year might do better. We shall see. I am very optimistic and very open. For what we've seen so far, I mean, if you can grab sealed product of anything that any of these smart gentlemen have been saying, yeah, obviously that's the way to go. I still think we've got good stuff in the future, though, personally.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I'm hopeful too. I think it's an exciting time to be in the hobby. Colin, you're all on Brilliant Stars after last week with Pokeplumber, right?
You know it. It's my favorite set, actually. The Charizard, the Arceus, the Vaporeon.
Yeah,
Right?
There's a Vaporeon.
Right?
Isn't there?
In the trainer gallery?
Yeah,
Trainer Gallery.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yellow
actually
border.
just bought a couple cases of Paradox Rift, so I followed Brian Pokieni's advice.
That pomper.
He told me to spend all my money on credit cards, and I
Paradox
followed
Rift.
the
That's true.
hype.
He did. He did say that. So
I followed
He
the hype.
did. Yeah, he's always pumping Paradox Rift.
Good. It's
I
the
like
best
this set a
set in
lot,
the
though, too.
era.
You
I
know
like
what,
Rock?
Nick-
Did you hear that, Rock? Paradox
He
Rift.
said
I
it.
agree. I agree.
Paradox Rift.
Dan, what's your top sealed product right now?
My top sealed. Wait.
Yeah, top sealed investment right now.
I try not to even talk about sealed stuff.
Paradox Red.
I got a better one. The best investment.
I know which one it is.
No. I'm gonna throw you a curveball. The best and Twice Baked Jake would love this.
Oh, would he?
So listen. So the best investment is 20 minutes of your time every Friday night, and you watch a video called Hottest Cards of the Week. Okay. And then Saturday morning, go out to your local card shops, take advantage.
And buy them all. I like it. Hottest cards of the week every
I
Friday.
thought you were going to tell me to invest in myself.
The problem is
I
there's
thought you were gonna
actually
say
card
Obsidian
shop owners.
Flames.
Micro learning. Obsidian Flames is a great investment. I'm glad you brought that up, Nick. I like
Well, that's
that.
It's
what
up to
that's what this guy
$80,
likes to
guys.
say a lot. He loves Obsidian Flames.
I'm gonna round it off and I'm gonna say I really like V-Star Universe. I think that is done the Japanese printers. It's already kind of trending upwards. I think that's going to be a good set for next year. But we will see. I love that set too. I think it's great. And I know Dan talking about Crown Zenith. I think V-Star is a good shout as well. I am raising money for the Sick Kids Foundation, guys. I'm going to put the link up in the chat right now. If you guys have enjoyed the stream, I would love it if you could donate. It's a little GoFundMe, or if you want to go to the website directly, you can and donate. Whatever it is, it helps kids out this time of year that are suffering, which I think is a pretty shitty thing to go through for families and kids. I want to thank everybody who joined me on this stream. Everybody are wonderful, very handsome, very well-spoken guests, and everybody that's in the chat. That was a really great stream. Thank you for giving up your time, for joining us. And yeah, until next time, guys, take it easy.
Thank you, everybody in the chat.
Bye. See
Thanks,
you later.
everyone.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Happy
Bye, guys.
holidays and stuff.
All right.